think in the past.
Okay.
Sad.
All right. Today is March 3rd, 2021. This is the Container Storage Interface meeting. I think we will just go down our agenda for today. First topic is Jan.
Well, it's not a real topic. Like, this PR is open for quite some time. All the questions have been answered. I'm just curious if it can be merged.
Yeah, I think if there's no outstanding items, we should be good to go. We just need an approval. I guess
1 hour
Shingy had
ago.
one typo.
Okay.
One small comment. Yeah.
Okay, I can update it.
Yeah, but otherwise it's fine.
So whom should I ping to merge it? Sad?
Yeah.
All right.
Should we also talk about, like, Jan, briefly, like what we discovered from talking with XFS engineers, people?
All right. There is a pull request in Kubernetes that implements the necessary functionality for the CSI drivers. And it could be like exported through staging in the mount utilities. And we talked to XFS engineering in Red Hat. There is no easy way how to get physical size of the file system, like how much the file system thinks, how big it is. So we are scraping X2 in dump E2FS utility, which is nice. Well, nice. It is parsable, and we were parsing is XFS info, which was ugly. And the XFS engineering told us that there is a special IOCTL for XFS to get the size, and there is a simpler command line utility. Oh, I could link the PR to get the value without too much parsing. So for XFS, we have IOCTL. For X3, we don't have any like API, but we have sort of nice to parse command line utility. So this is good, but if somebody wants to add any other file system, then this needs to be added to the mount utils in Kubernetes. I will find a pull request.
I guess one question is that in Kubernetes, we only have things for XFS and ext4, and we don't really support other file systems. So if a driver is supporting a different file system, does that mean they need to sort of come up with their own utility library?
Well, yeah, it depends on the CSI vendor what file system they want to support, and I haven't heard anything. Everybody's happy with XFS and X4.
I guess the one concern that I was having was like what if the file system that they're using doesn't have a way to determine file system geometry in the way like we were expecting? Like there's no API for that provided by kernel or the file system utils. And then like the XFS engineers suggested that we could always do resize, and every mount we always resize like after mounting. And
well, but then we didn't get answer if this is safe and how safe it is.
yeah, we didn't get answer for that. So like at the restore time, we know the file system on the snapshot, do we? I don't remember.
At the restore, yes. We know the snapshot, we know the original PVC, so we know the size. We just don't have a way how to pass it to kubelet. And we were talking back and forth about this, and we decided it's a driver problem.
But the driver knows in the control plane the file system when it creates the PV. Or
I don't know actually.
I know the
No.
PVC and all, but does the CSI driver knows? Because
No.
FS type is passed in as a volume in the volume capability for mount volumes.
Yeah, but not the size, not the original size.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought we were talking about a different subject. Never mind. I spaced out.
Okay. I guess so. Do we have a conclusion on? Do we need a conclusion on this one? If there's some other file system that can't actually get this information.
I think as far as it comes to CSI spec, then we are fine. Implementation wise on Kubernetes or
So
in CSI drivers.
I actually implemented this in a couple of my drivers, and I noticed while I was implementing it, there's a few different options. But like things like XFS GrowFS and resize E2FS are both idempotent. Like you can just call them over and over again, and if the volume is already the size of the underlying block storage, like just nothing happens. So like I would imagine that any other file system would conform to those constraints.
Yeah, but then there is a huge warning in the man page. It used to be warning in man pages for XFS that don't be very careful when you call GrowFS. Or it was somewhere, I don't know, maybe I already had documentation.
Well, I was gonna say that's one implementation. You can also call XFS GrowFS in such a way that it just outputs the current size of it, and then you can compare that to what you think it should be, and then do something. So like XFS has a bunch of commands that dump the current file system size without trying to change anything.
yeah, but
and
XFS info was the one, but it's very, very ugly actually, and I'm not like I think for XFS we really have to use the IOCTLs.
really,
Does
I think I call XFS GrowFS-N, which just dumps the information.
does directly calling the ioctls potentially put a dependency on the kernel version?
No.
No,
These things are stable for years, I hope.
I think the downside to calling ioctls is porting them across architectures. It can be a little funky. Like if you only support AMD 64, that's one thing, but when you start supporting ARM and other platforms, you know, doing low-level stuff like that gets a little more hairy in your code. Because you start to touch, you know, like the syscall layer. And I can't actually remember if cgo gets involved and you have to have glibc involved, or if Go can do it all directly. I don't think you need cgo to call ioctls.
So XFS RAWFS print same thing as that XFS info prints. It's the same format, same thing. So it's same ugly as XFS info.
Oh, you just don't like parsing the text? Is that the complaint?
No, the kernel XFS Ninja stores it's not stable. It's not meant to be consumed programmatically actually.
Right. But if you ship the XFS GrowFS binary in your container, then it will be stable for the life of that container, which is what we do. So like, yeah, the binary could change from version to version, but if you ship a version of the binary with your CSI plugin, it's guaranteed to be stable within that CSI plugin. So you can do the ugly parsing thing and just deal with it. It hasn't been that bad.
Mm.
I mean, I too would prefer something nicer, but I don't see it as a practical problem.
No, I was like, I was thinking like if like if you put it in CSI spec that the driver is responsible for the size and driver doesn't know the size and it has to query the size by reading the file system geometry. And if it's not possible for certain file system types, or like as then it should throw out of range error. Maybe that's okay. And
Do we have an example of when they can't do this? Because that would be helpful. I think it's pretty reasonable to expect that every file system on Earth can just resize to fill the current block device.
that is one. And then, so what are we agreeing on? Okay, that may be part of Kubernetes implementation detail, like how we're gonna resize it. We could always expand on every mount, but maybe not for this call.
All right. Yeah, I think that sounds good given that right now we mostly know about XFS and ext4 and we have solutions for those.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this topic?
So is the plan to have this merged and just say driver need to do this, and then in the future, we are thinking about adding this in Kubernetes to expand volume or something in the future?
I
Every
don't think
time?
there's
Yeah,
anything there's nothing to add
Oh.
to Kubernetes.
like,
Like,
well, yeah,
can go
we
by
have the mind utilities imported by many CSI drivers, so the resize, proper resize should be there soon-ish, I hope, in the next release.
this is what this is for, like 1.22.
Release 121.
Oh, this one? I think we can do that. It's a code freezing is coming, right?
Yeah,
But
we have still
yeah,
4 days.
we're driving at getting a CSI release out before the code freeze so that we can get a bunch of stuff fixed in Kubernetes 121. I don't know if we're going to make that deadline.
I was just, yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Cutting it
1
close.
week. Okay.
I mean, even if say like the CSI spec changes aren't able to make it, I think we can still add it to the mount utilities, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We may not want to call it all the time on mount, but we can at least merge it to the mount utility so that it can be used externally by drivers.
Thank you. Next topic is volume mount group.
Okay, so James had a comment yesterday, I think, about there were two things. One was that for intent of mount, what should happen, like the new files, like originally I was thinking like my concern was that it is too specific to just call new files. The new files should be readable, writable by the volume mount group. And in it does prevent like chown chmod use case clearly. Like you cannot just chown and expect the new files to be group writable. They will be generally user writable. So you must, when you use mount, if your mount option is working properly, then it will be group writable, and you cannot just fake it with chown chmod. It does seem to fulfill what we want for Azure file and CFS mounts. So I kind of included that wording back in like what James suggested in the spec, and think he hadn't had any like, yeah. So I kind of went back on that, and I thought, okay, fine. It's I just put it there, and I think in future if there are volume drivers, it's that can support like that apply volume group identifier like volume mount group, but they only on mount basically like there could be driver that behaves, they apply mount option same as like how chown behaves internally, like where on each mount the permissions are mapped, but new files are written. When you write a new file, it doesn't automatically get group read write permissions actually.
Wait, is that a real thing or is that a hypothetical thing?
It's a hypothetical thing. It doesn't
All right.
happen with CIFS, but it
Well,
could
yeah.
happen.
So if that happened, it's not good enough, and you can't use this capability, right?
Yeah, yeah. If that happens, it's not good enough. You cannot use that capability because the capability is limited to like the new file should be group writable and readable. So that was my main concern, but its proposal being alpha, maybe it's fine. I don't know what other folks think, but it's fine to have that wording. It prevents chown,
I mean, isn't the real solution here to just like have some tests that exercise this functionality, and then anyone who wants to pretend that anyone who wants to claim support for it just runs the tests and sees if they can pass them?
Yeah, sure, like when sanity test or something, but we still have to capture in the wording what is expected, right?
Yeah, okay. I guess it's clear to me.
I get so the current wording does talk about the new files, right? So
Yeah,
that should be fine, right? The current wording captures that case.
yeah, but it doesn't support the hypothetical use case that I was talking. Like if the volume type or file system type that applies the permissions on mount, so that when you mount a volume, you get group ownership group and group readable writable. But if a workload creates a new file, the new file doesn't automatically inherit like group ownership or group read write
So,
permissions.
so you're worried that the wording isn't clear enough that it should prohibit that case? Because like the wording can only be so clear.
No, the wording is clear. It could
Okay.
but the wording
Okay.
will prevent such a volume driver from using this mount
Right,
system.
and that's
Yeah.
what we want. So I don't see what the problem is.
Why would we want it to prevent on purpose if it works? Like if say if a driver supports that, and then if a driver like
If the
applies
mount
permission.
if the mount facility doesn't apply permissions correctly to newly created files, then it violates what the goal of this is, which is that you can run workloads that depend on every file in the volume being accessible to the workload,
Yeah,
right?
but the workload will be able to read and write files because new files that it is creating will have user permissions by default. Like that's how in Unix or
Oh,
Linux all the so it will be able to read write files because it's getting user based permissions on new files and directories. And
okay. So you're saying that it's too strict now, and that we need to loosen it to say that that's actually okay.
yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
I think it's too strict, but we'll see. I mean, it's alpha proposal, so maybe it's fine. So that was my
yeah,
concern. Yeah.
I say let's get it merged. If there's questions about it, maybe we can specifically address those questions somewhere, or and I like the idea of having a test that basically says this is what we expect to work. If you pass the test, you've cleared the bar, and then because tests are much more harder, they're much harder to misunderstand than English words, right? You either passed the test, you didn't.
Yeah, I think the another thing is like a casual reader of spec may not understand what new file mean in this context. Like for
Yeah,
example,
but I
what
mean,
is
I don't think that we can solve that problem, right?
yeah,
This requires deeply understanding what's going on.
yeah. Okay. So I have updated the wording for that, and I think it's fine for the implementation that we're proposing. There one more thing that I have made change, and James was looking into or had some concern was like, okay, so originally we wanted like my original proposal had like node stage. If you node stage the volume with one group, then you cannot node publish with different group. And I put must wording there, if you remember, Ben, and like you the CO must use the same group that was used during the stage. I changed relaxed to must to a may, actually. Like I no, not relaxed, but
Should is better than may, right?
no, I dropped that thing kind of altogether because I realized that many drivers may not actually perform a mount on the stage. Like I know Chris's driver, his driver does not perform any mount on stage. So if if the actual mount happens on the at the publish time, then that means that multiple volumes, like the same volume, cannot be node published with a different
Yeah.
GID if the
No,
stage was.
I think I'm agreeing with you, but I'm confused because I thought that what we had agreed to when we last met was we want to, the only thing we want to guarantee will work is if it's the same, right? If you use the same one for node stage and node publish, we will guarantee that will work.
Yeah.
If you use different ones, whether it works or not is up to the driver. And
Yeah. So
the way I would communicate that is like that you should use the same one. You don't have to, and here's what you give up if you don't. You know,
so if we
which is
read the updated wording, Michelle, like, can you pull it up, or I don't know. I don't know if there's a way. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So if you go to
under
node publish, yeah, node publish will have like, yeah, yep. This is the one. So this updated wording says if plugin does not support node publish volume with different volume mount group than the one used during node stage volume, the plugin may return failed precondition error.
yeah.
Similarly, if SP does not support node publish on same volume on same node with different volume on group, it may return failed precondition error. So this, I have relaxed this wording.
Yeah.
I
This sounds great.
guess by May, then what is the other alternative that they can do?
It can
They can
succeed.
support. They can succeed. Yeah.
But here it says if it doesn't support.
Yeah, so if it does not support node publish volume with the one with different volume mount group than used during the stage, then it may return otherwise. So do
Okay,
you think that?
so if you don't support it, there's no other option than to return failed precondition error. Is that what you're getting at, Michelle?
Yeah.
That what we're saying is, if you do support it, you should succeed. If you don't support it, the way you communicate this is by returning failed precondition error. And I guess the may emphasizes the fact that you don't have to support it, but you can. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty subtle wording issue. I'm fine leaving it this way.
Okay.
I think
guess
it's
as
clear.
a plugin, like as a plugin author, I'll read this and I say, okay, I could return failed precondition, but what are my other choices of what I can do?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we should put that if plugins, like if supported, then it should, like, if plugins just a plugin may support or should support, I don't know, like.
Yeah, I guess you want to move the may to the supporting of the different volume groups, and then say if you don't support it, then you return failed precondition. This is your only option if you don't support it.
Yeah, I think I originally had more, like, what to say, more verbose wording there, but I kind of reduced it down to. So we are saying that okay, if like just I want to, if plugin, we could say if plugin supports node publish. Just a second. Sorry. Okay, so we are saying that if plugin may support. I think I have to think and find the right wording for to express the successful condition. I mean,
You could say something like a plugin may support this scenario,
uh-huh.
and if they do,
They're
or
gonna.
or if they don't, then return failed precondition.
Mm.
Should the CO do something with that error, the failed precondition? Or
Yeah, in this case, like CU cannot really do anything. Like the error, the recovery says the recovery says the caller must not retry until, like if you the read it says caller must not retry until node publish volume uses the same value as the one that was used during node stage. But in real world, this just basically means that user have to CO will try with exponential backoff, but it is user who have to delete and recreate the workload and make sure that the second part uses the same FS group as the first one, right?
so not retry, basically.
Yeah, in Kubernetes we don't have code path where we don't retry operations mostly. A plugin may support node publish volume with different volume mount group than what was used during node stage volume. And so a plugin may support node publish volume with a different volume mount group than what was used during node stage volume. But if it does not support, is that sounds fair, Michelle? Like, or did you take a note in the
Yeah,
meeting
yeah,
notes?
I took a note. I think that sounds fine.
Okay. Yeah, if does not. Okay. So similar thing we have to put for node publish also. Like a plugin may support node publish volume with the one that was used different. So there's a node stage node publish and there's a node stage and node publish node publish. So a plugin may support node publish volume with different volume mount group than that was used during previous. Okay, I could update the wording. James, however, said he said that he needs to review the error conditions. Like the last comment was that we need to review the error conditions, and I need to think error cases a bit more. I'm a bit concerned about the complexity added here. I would rather err on the side of caution, meaning more conservative, sacrificing flexibility or simplicity. Okay, so think it's gonna take time to him to review the error conditions. Is could we simplify it further? Could we make it more strict? I don't know actually. We have two distinct errors. One right now in the spec as proposed. One for when staging node stage and node published use different volume out group, and one has when node publish they use different on group.
I guess is James referring to these two clauses here about having the different mount groups?
I think he's referring to the error section actually. If you go down in the spec, it would be.
Is it this section?
No, keep going down a little bit more. Sorry. Yeah. Yep. Hey, stop. Yeah. Above, a little bit up. The basically the table
Oh,
that we
this
have
one.
of it. Yeah.
I mean, this is the same as what the comment is, right? But it's put into the errors table.
Actually, you're right. Yeah. The same as the description there, except put it in error table because yeah. Except like here we have to document recovery and all the stuff, which was kind of not described in the comment above.
Okay. Yeah, I think once you change the wording in the description, then we can reflect it here. I don't think it will make it any simpler than I think what James was maybe asking for. Was he asking for if we can simplify the error conditions?
No, I think he is asking for like so I don't know like his intent because it was very brief and I haven't talked to him after that. So the thing is like, but looking at the message, I can only interpret that when we say node publish could use different mount group as node stage, or multiple node publishers could use different mount groups from each other. We are being basically like very flexible about how this is done. Like maybe he's saying that could we make it more strict? Like could we just say, okay, node publish should use same as node stage, or multiple node publishers has to use same as, they all have to use same volume mount group.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you look at something that like a plugin that doesn't support node stage, then theoretically they should be able to do different mount groups on node publish.
Yeah, it works for CIFS for sure. You can mount same volume multiple times on same node with different mount groups.
Well, it can work, but should we require that it must work? Like that was the whole thing, was that we wanted to leave the door open to, if people are able to implement it, sure, go ahead and implement it. But if we don't want to, we only wanted to require supporting a single group at a time to be able to claim the capability.
So to claim the capability, you don't have to support it multiple times, right? You could just return failed precondition.
Right, but if I, well, that's where it gets tricky. Is we want to make it clear that, you know, even if you don't have node stage, if all you can do is one group, that it's okay to fail here, and that's what brings in all the extra error handling, the complexity that we may or may not want to. I mean, I'm fine with supporting it, but I don't deny that it's a little more complicated.
So we're saying that so basically we're saying that for same volume and so there's like a bunch of permutation combinations when we are looking into node publish. Like there are certain operations that is supported. So the target path, if the target path changes, so if the target path is same, then obviously it is supported. Like you could use not different, but you could use the same mount group on same target path. That's fine. But if you change the target path, then you got to still use the same mount group as the one that was used previously. If we restrict the wording that all node publish and node publish should use the same mount group, we still have to kind of update the error handling. Like there's a error already exist error case, like where we say that but already exist error case, like how do we, I'm just trying to think, like if we restrict the mount group thing, then how do we like, are we reducing the complexity of the error handling? Then the volume already exists error says indicates that the volume corresponding to the volume ID has already been published at the specified target path, but is incompatible with specified volume capability or read-only flag. So we cannot use already exists error for publishing the volume on a different target path, as far as I understood. Correct? So that basically means even if we restrict the all node publishers to use same mount group, we still have to have a failed precondition error, or maybe return another variant of already exist error. Does it really simplify the error handling? Is what I'm asking. But there's that error handling, I think, is not simplified by doing that. Maybe what happens, what gets easier is like in future, if you want to restrict this, then we cannot do it because, you know, like we already started with a more broader flexible options.
So just to be clear, I'm okay with it as it is, with the more complicated error handling. I think it's more important that we get it into alpha and go.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I think I will make the wording change that we discussed today to say if supported, but I don't know the error handling, what James means by that, and how do we address that. Like the comment that I'm referring to is the last one, Michelle. If you pull that one in this thing, so it's just at the bottom of the pull request.
Okay. I think this one we might need to follow up with James on to sort of have him clarify what he means by this. I'm not, yeah, I'm not sure which part he's referring to, like if, or in terms of what kind of changes he's thinking of.
Yeah, I'll ping him offline, although like not sure if he'll respond in time. So we are still in the think zone where today's already what, Wednesday, where it could actually miss the feature cut.
Yeah, this will be very tight. All right. Any other topics? Anything
There
else
was
to discuss?
another open PR by Patrick, right? That's also
All right.
in. I don't know if we got everything resolved yet.
Yeah, I think that one's ready to go. It just needs approval.
Yeah, my only question is that that existing field, the available capacity, are we not going to do anything with it? Just leave it? It seems to be pretty weird.
Yeah, I think that's the conclusion.
People
Like
will be confused.
we leave it, and I guess in Kubernetes we don't even use the field. It's just kind of a
what
dead
is he
field or
using?
something.
What
So
is he using now? What is he using currently? He's going to change it. to use the new
it is.
right?
Yeah. It is.
But basically, just after this, well, he still need to use it, right? Because he only added the volume, the maximum minimum size, right? Oh, you're saying that his code will only be depending on that. Does not even depend
Yeah.
So the available capacity we still need it, right? Because I thought this maximum volume size that he's adding is just to indicate that how big a volume could be. It's like basically it's like like when you fit the boxes, how big a box can be. It's not about total capacity available in the back end.
And also like option, right? If his code, previous code uses available capacity, now what has to.
My understanding is that he plans to replace the use of available capacity with maximum volume size. I think right now, like the implementation or the design can only process one volume at a time. It can't process multiple volumes. So that's why using maximum volume size or replacing it can work.
Okay.
The maximum volume size can change based on how many volumes are already created and things like that, right?
Yes.
But then that will just basically like you have to be dependent on the newer CSI spec, and then we are moving to beta.
I would probably, I mean, since this is a new alpha field, I think I would probably still leave this in alpha for one more release so we can test this out.
Yeah. I was just wondering if
hey everyone,
driver knows.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Hey, I just joined. Sorry about that.
Okay. I was just wondering if every driver can report this maximum volume size. If they don't know how to report, just report available capacity, I guess. I just have some questions. I mean, now if we are switching to this, but if we are still staying in alpha, I think that, well, yeah, maybe that's better. I think that gives us some time to figure out.
Yeah, I guess we need to see, we'll need to see on the Kubernetes side if he intends to still use this field. It might be that he might fall back to it because I think it's an optional field. So, you know, he'll look at the maximum volume size first, and if it's not set, then he'll fall back to the other one.
That may be better, I think. I was just wondering if actually I would
But I think
figure this out.
Yeah. But I think so that would be like the better way to maintain backwards compatibility. But I think the issue still stands that the two fields are going to be interpreted the same way in Kubernetes. There's no change in how Kubernetes interprets those two fields.
By the way, are we done with it? Sorry. I don't want to change the topic.
Yeah, I think we're done.
So I had this PR1 PR like node secret for node expands volume. Let me see. Let me add it, or somebody's editing it.
Oh, go ahead. I was about to type it.
Okay, so this was open for a while as well, actually, and I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we have to obviously do some work in Kubernetes to consume it or make it accessible, and we have. But as far as CSI specs is concerned, it should be okay to do it, right? I mean, unless like anyway, like I think it's fine. The problem is going to be in Kubernetes, like copying a new secret to PVs if it is different than the control plane expand secrets.
Okay. I guess this one seems pretty straightforward, right? It's just adding another secret for a call.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this one just needs some approval. I don't think there would be. Are there any like outstanding items on this? I think it looks like the only thing is that we need to figure out on the Kubernetes side how to plumb it through. But I think that can be resolved separately.
Yeah, that should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we have these 4 PRs that I think most of them are ready to go. I think the only one that is needs a little bit of more discussion is the volume mount group one, but the other 3 I think should be ready.
And do we want to hold off for the volume mount group one or proceed
I guess
with?
I think we're mainly waiting on James to sort of clarify his comment that he had. I think if you can try to ping him today, that would be great. But let's set. Do we want to set a sort of deadline for when we need to get all these PRs merged and so we can do a cut? I guess,
So it takes,
Saad, how long does it take?
Yeah, I think it takes at least, let me check. I think it's at least 3 days. So we got to do it like tomorrow if we want to be on track for a getting this ready by Monday.
Three business days or 3 days?
Let me double check.
Well, I pinged James, by the way, and the one more thing was like our builds will be broken on Golang 1.16, by the way, but I think that's not important right now. We have to some point in future fix that.
As long as we stay on 115 for now, we should be fine, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's 2 business days. So if we do it on this afternoon, we can cut it by Friday afternoon. If we do it by end of day today, we can cut it by Friday end of day. If we do it tomorrow, then it'll have to wait till Monday.
Code freeze is on
The 9th.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
So I think if we
cutting
target
it pretty close.
Friday. I say let's get these PRs merged today, get the RC cut end of day today, target the release Friday, and then you got Monday, Tuesday to see if we can make the updates. And in the meantime, we can use the RC build for testing and getting the Kubernetes changes ready.
Sounds good.
And I guess that means a month, just shoot me an email by end of day on kind of the status of the Mat 1.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Any other topics? All right, then that'll be it for today. Thanks.